What's going on, world? Day 27 of my 40-day fast is now over. You dig? And yeah, man. God is good. God is most definitely good because, I know I mentioned to y'all the last video, that was kind of in my feelings about everything that's just been transpiring in general. Kind of just like, dang man, what's going on? But today for the 27th day, that is, I just was able to kind of snap out of that pretty quickly. Just listening to gospel music and praying and worshiping. Because I just got to thinking about my life, right? Got to thinking about my life and everything that happened and how easily it could have been different. You know what I mean? Like, although it's definitely been moments, throughout my life in general, but even this year, especially, right shortly before the fast, it's definitely been moments where I was feeling like, man, if I knew this is how things was gonna turn out, I could have just been in the streets. You know what I mean? I could have just, you know, had got my high school after getting a high school diploma, could have just immediately went into the workforce if I knew this is how my life was gonna turn out. You know what I mean? So kind of like that mood that I was in. Definitely, I had got some renewed frame of thought, or not even a renewed frame of thought, but I got a new frame of thought. Listening to the Basement Podcast, and it was something that they had said in one of the episodes where it had finally clicked for me yesterday as I was reminiscing in my life. And it was basically just like, the guest that was with Tim Ross, she was basically just saying how she's Canadian born, but and raised through her child rearing years, but as an adult, she was in America. And she loved it here, and because of unfortunate circumstances with her family, that's why she ended up having to go back. But when she went back, it was COVID, and that kind of put a halt on her paperwork process. And so, long story short, for her, she had basically just came to the realization that I can be who God called me to be, and I believe it's Acts 28. Is it Malta or is it Malta? I want to say when Paul was in Malta, although God told him that he was going to Rome. I hope I'm not botching that, but I know it was Acts 28, and because it's the chapter where the poisonous snake bit his hand, but it didn't do nothing to him. And basically the point of that whole story and the revelation that came from it for her was basically that God can use you exactly where you are. You don't have to, because a lot of preachers are always talk about, what's coming up next, the next phase of your life is going to be great and grandiose, and God's going to use you in multiple ways. But she was just like, but, God can use me right here, right now. I have a gifting, a purpose, an anointing that God can use me while I'm still in this very season before I end up going into my next. And so that revelation came because, although he was in Malta, here Paul was still doing what Paul was, anointed and designed to do, and that was, spreading the gospel and doing the Lord's work, although he found himself in a place that wasn't his ultimate and final destination. So very powerful message that was, for sure. And that was just one of the segments, and then kind of something that curtailed from that was also in the various phases of her life, for the experiences that she went through, because she was a basketball head. So she was a D1 full scholarship athlete for basketball, and she was able to take the discipline and resolve that she learned from growing up playing sports into her dedicating herself and not only learning about the Lord in general and learning his word, but building a relationship with him. And, that was just going to say that, God doesn't waste any experiences, the things that you are going through now and have went through, before and previously. Those experiences are something that can always be used for your benefit later on. And so I was just like, dang, although I definitely have had those down moments, feeling like, I could have just been in the streets, or I didn't really have to go to school and stuff like that. It's just like, nah, man, because had I not went to school, I would have never met my wife. Or even if knowing what I know now and had learned right before I was about to graduate, because I was a first generation college student, for folks that don't know, and I thought it was just a one way path, and no one ever told me the wiser, and I didn't really know that I should find out if there were other ways, because I just had a one track mind, which is that's the one bad thing about school, is that they just prepare you for the next level, getting through your grade to get to the next stage, instead of, embedding in you the wherewithal of looking forward, making sure that you have a plan where you see yourself, where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years. That's a very important question, or a very important thing to do, because it forces you to make sure that you understand how you need to get there based off of whatever plan you ultimately want. And that's what was missing, But being first generational college student, you don't know what you don't know, and so I ultimately thought that my path to, at that point, going to med school was a one-way track, when in actuality, it's a bunch of loops and turns and twists from various angles. People treat, doctors as second and third career, becoming a doctor as a second and third career. So, it's very many different avenues and ways that you can get to ultimately becoming a med student. But even with all of that, I know, like, just looking back, had my life been any different, I feel like, or had those moments rather in my life been any different and changed, my life would be totally different now. I definitely don't see myself being in this same position with the blessings and things that I have now. Even with, major thing is, I probably would have had a different major, but had I had a different major, probably wouldn't have met my wife, especially at that time of my life, because, and it's kind of tangent, but it's my confession on my journal, so that's fine. But it goes to my ultimate point too. So, in my college years, and really, and just in my younger teenage, young adult, baby adult life, I love them artsy girls. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you if you sung or you danced, you acted, um, played an instrument, you know what I mean? Like if you were in the arts in any form or fashion, you already had a leg up, you know what I'm saying, as far as my interest level from everybody else. Like, yeah, you already had a leg up. And so if I was gonna do it over, or parallel universe where Aziz does know about only needing to have his prerequisites, so you don't have to graduate, and I mean you don't have to major in a pre-med concentration biology degree to get to med school. You ain't got to do that. All you got to do is get them prereqs, and you can major in your passion. Because I had always saw myself, even as a youngin, like being on the TV and acting. I wanted to be on That's So Raven so bad as a young kid. Um, and yeah, I always kind of had an affinity for acting, and then um, ended up being able to do so in high school and liked it. So I probably would have did that had I known. I could have just minored in biology to get my prereqs. But had I did that and been around my type at the time, you know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, my wife is my type now, but I guess technically that would still be my type. I don't know, because now that I think about it, my wife, she danced. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of something that further pulled me into her as we was dating and getting to know each other. But nevertheless, yeah, had I frequently been around the arts because I was a drama major, you know, could we still have met? Sure, but would I been the same person that I was when I met her going through that phase of my life? I don't know. You see what I'm saying? I just don't know. Um so yeah, and that's just one of many things that I could say that it was just like, going back and just looking at all the things that God brought me through, you know what I mean? It's just like, man, I ain't got no reason to, really don't got no reason to be depressed and angry or frustrated, because each time that I needed him, he showed up. You know what I mean? Each and every time I needed him, he showed up and blessed me throughout all of my circumstances. You feel me? So, yeah, it just gave me that switch to, making sure that I'm always looking at things half full instead of half empty. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so got my mind right, yesterday. Got my mind back right, finished up my laundry, because I had about, I ain't no telling how many weeks of clothes it was. I ran out of underwear, we put it like that. So I desperately needed to wash. So finished that, went to the church play. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Pretty much about it for my day yesterday. Finished washing, just was kind of just thinking about life and changing, getting out that little mood I was in. And yeah, that's pretty much was the day. Now, as far as how my body was feeling, I was a little nauseous for day 27. Um, I was definitely a little nauseous, and I don't know why now, but my breath is starting to like get stale pretty quick now. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I guess, I am drinking energy drink, I mean sports drinks and stuff now. So maybe that sugar and stuff getting in my mouth, kind of making my breath stink. I don't know. I ain't gonna say stink, but definitely stale. Like it ain't a. It's like I'm trying to think. I yeah, it don't quite stink, but it's just a you know what a non-fresh breath smell like. It's kind of like, okay, you don't have to dry you got a dry mouth, don't you? Yeah, here's a mint. You know what I mean? One of those situations where it ain't a did you brush your teeth today kind of thing. Not like that. It's just one of those. You need a little mint. Here you go. You know what I mean? Is your mouth dry? You had some water today? But yeah, my mouth is starting to do that. My breath, rather, is starting to do that. You know, within a few hours of me brushing my teeth, like 2-3 hours later, and I can, because you can taste it. Breath stink on it. So I don't know what's up with that. That's definitely been happening in these past few days for sure. And I just been more aware of it, you know, with my wife, or since I've been home this weekend, because you know my wife been on me and in my face, so it's like, hey, did you brush your teeth today? Yes, I did. Hey, don't try to play me. But anyway, so it just made me. I say that to say it just made me think like, dang, I hope my breath ain't been kicking. And these people been training me at work. Goodness gracious. Cause yeah, I don't know. I can't do nothing about that. My breath stink at work. Ain't like I can brush it. I guess I need to. I need to steal some gum. I bought a pack of gum. I need to steal some back from my wife. So I can just have that on standby just in case I get the taste of myself. Just need to pop them bad boys in for sure. But yeah, breath starting to get stale pretty quick now. I don't really like that. And yeah, I was definitely was a little nauseous. Nauseous. It just had that's overall sickish feeling. You know, I wasn't nasally, so I didn't have like the sinus pressure build up in my face, but just, you know how it is when you just don't feel good. That's how I was feeling. So it did eventually pass. I don't even remember what I ended up doing. I think I had a body armor left over or something. I don't remember what I ended up drinking, but I drank something, and eventually, like an hour later, it finally, brought me back to life. But yeah, that was pretty much day 27, man. So, now that the day is over and we're officially in day 28, it's just about to be 12 more days left. 13 days officially as of this video, but 12 more days as we're in day 28. And yeah, man, God is good. God is most definitely good. I'm just hoping, praying my body is cooperating with me on this week, especially because it's about to be my first full week working Monday through Friday. So it's my first official full 5-day week. And just on top of it being like, the week before everything ends, I just want to survive the week, get through it, because I know come next week, although next week I'll be fully out of training, so things will be ramped up a little bit more, at least expectation-wise, because, my workload definitely will still be ramped up because I won't have no excuses of going to the back doing no trainings. But then, just since I'll be out of training, yeah, I know they're going to work with me because I'm still new, but still, it's like they're going to expect a little bit more. So the good news, what I was saying was at least it'd be the last week. So it's just like, get to Friday, we done. You know what I mean? So One step at a time. We get through this week, and I know everything will be fine. So, did not expect this video to be this long. Goodness gracious, but I said all I know, so it's definitely time to go. So, man of God, woman of God, I love you. Wish nothing but the best for you, and yeah, keep trusting God, keep faith alive, and don't give up on yourself. And if you don't believe, let God just test God. Test him. Go ahead and test him. Go ahead and test him. Have him prove himself to you. Not with no miraculous sign or anything, but just, with a humble heart, go to him. Just like, Lord, I need you to get me through this season. And watch what he do for you. But like I said before, be prepared for the answer, because it might not be what you want. But yeah, man. With that being said, I'll be easy. Peace.